Topping is crafting all-in-one devices for stereo heads and head files for a while now. This year, however, marks their 15-year anniversary, celebrating with a flagship DX9 all-in-one unit that incorporates their very best DAC, preamp, headphone amplifier and Bluetooth receiver into a unit that looks unlike anything they've done so far. This is the Chuck Norris of all-in-ones, but sadly, it's a limited edition run. Instead of going with current production AK4499EX DAC chips, they went with ultra-rare OG4499 EQ that powered their D90 back in the day. It's priced at $1299 US, and the story has just begun. Design-wise, we have a fully CNC machine case. I find this one quite beautiful, that's my honest opinion. We have smooth lines, rounded edges, we have massive metallic feet with rubber inlays, we have two colorful displays with tempered glass on top, and there's a big surprise, we have a massive tempered glass on top with mini LEDs surrounding it that offers a clear view over its circuit board. I don't need to open this one up, as everything is proudly displayed, and if you get disturbed by the lightning effects, you can always turn them off if you please. Undeniably, this is the coolest looking all-in-one unit made by Topping. Everything is centered, everything is symmetrical, everything is mathematical, and on top of that we are also getting a fully CNC machined aluminum remote control with rubber buttons. This one is usually offered as an extra upgrade. On its faceplate we have a 1/4 inch, a 4-pin XLR and a 4.4mm balanced output, and on its right we have a single on-off button that is also disguised as a menu opener after a short press. The volume knob also houses a button in the middle, and the knob itself will help you navigate through its Aurora UI, which looks considerably nicer to their older units. There are no longer hidden menus, we even have digital FFTs and VU meters. Everything is easily controlled via the included remote control or volume knob, and that is already a quality of life improvement. On its back we have every possible digital input, including the I to S input. Coaxial and optical inputs come in pairs, and there's a Bluetooth antenna socket as well. Instead of the usual RCA and XLR analog line outputs, we also have a pair of RCA and XLR preamp outputs that will pass through its R2R volume control and offer you an adjustable voltage output. Under its hood is where things are getting considerably more interesting, and having this tempered glass on top makes my job so much easier, as everything is on display already. We have 3 switching mode power supplies right here, one for its digital, analog and headphone amplifier circuit. We also have an AC filter right here that is preconditioning the power before it gets converted to DC power. We have the latest XMOS digital receiver, we have the latest Bluetooth receiver of Qualcomm that supports all those fancy codecs. We have an OG AK4499 EQ DAC chip, and I see a hybrid IV conversion stage that combines several op-amps with discrete components. We have an R2R volume controller right here for the perfect channel balance and for the lowest noise, that is combining resistors with analog relays, and everything works in the analog domain. Super cool. We also have 6 NFCA headphone amplifier modules. Those are made from discrete components only, so no op-amps, and those are providing up to 10 watts of power per channel in 60 ohms, 7 watts in 32 ohms, and almost a watt of power in 300 ohms, which is quite a lot of power. And here we have it, guys, the flagship all-in-one unit by Topping that didn't leave a single component to chance. Everything was chosen for the lowest distortion and for the highest dynamic range, and I think that is the right time to hit some eardrums. I thought that Topping depleted their ultra-rare OG AKM stock with the D70S and with the D90 MQA, but it seems that they saved their very best chips for the limited edition flagship unit. This saddens me a little because DX9 is clearly the very best unit that Topping has ever made, but once it's gone, it's forever gone. I'm happy to report that Topping didn't chase just perfect measurements this time around with this unit, but also a really nice tonal balance that is serving audiophiles and music lovers alike. While using the Eversolo DMPA6 just as a streamer and sending all that goodness via I2S to DX9 felt like unlocking the maximum potential of the DX9. Well, USB connection also sounded pretty good actually. There is no comparison when when I2S starts playing. There is simply a darker background, an eerie silence in between the notes that USB connection simply doesn't have. On top of that, timing is improving, especially in a stereo setup. You feel that the sound is no longer as fuzzy, is clearer, you get clearer leading edges, you feel that the stereo image is more in focus. You can easily zoom in and zoom out on the sounds via that USB connection. And if you want the very best sound from DX9, then may I suggest hunting for a DDC or for a wired streamer that offers you that I2S output. Playing God by Polyphia started playing, and I opened my eyes wider because a pair of drumsticks magically appeared in my hands and I started air drumming like a madman. This is how my body responds to the call, to the music that I like and to the gear that sounds properly. And in no time my son also started jumping all around to the rhythm of the music and leveling my parenting skills in the process. This time around it was not about getting a highly technical, highly resolving sound, but about getting a fun listening experience. And I do believe that D70 Octo was doing that in short listening sessions. DX9 is doing that in long listening sessions, adding more meat on the bone, more bass, more mid-range, while gently slashing more digitals, more brightness and listening fatigue compared to D70 Octo. Out of nowhere, Fear of the Dark by Iron Maiden starts playing, and instead of lowering the volume, I'm actually increasing the volume and an instant rush of dopamine is flowing from my body. Because that bass guitar was something else completely compared to, say, a D90 SE. D90 SE is always honest, ultra transparent, but ultimately quite flat, straight as a line in terms of frequency response. This one adds more energy, more oomph in the bass. The bass is not just deeper and punchier, but there are additional nuances in the bass and it's also decaying more naturally. So yes, there is actually quite a difference between this one and the D90 SE, especially when it comes to bass and mid-range energy compared to that one. The absence of a Chord Dave DAC and Chord Ultima Free preamplifier was felt. The low-end control wasn't that amazing and also resolution went a little lower, but the oomph and also dynamics weren't really missing the action, that is for sure. So dynamics weren't limping at all. And overall, I could see myself using it as a DAC and preamp combo together with a power amplifier, driving a pair of passive loudspeakers. On the next day, I decided using this one as a DAC and headphone amplifier, driving a bunch of dynamic and planar headphones. It offers 100 dBs of volume, and since it was completely noiseless via high gain, I used high gain most of the time, even with those ultra sensitive IEMs and very sensitive desktop headphones. The absolute highest volume that I could reach with a pair of Meze Elite, RZ Charybdis and Keneton Rognir was about minus 30 dB, which would equal to around 105-106 dB according to my mini DSP ears, so that was very, very loud. With a pair of Hyphoman Aria Stealth, I was reaching to around minus 23 dB for the same SPL and minus 25 dB with a pair of Sennheiser HD800S. So clearly we have more than enough power for dynamic and planar headphones. I redid my tests with the Hyphoman Susvara and I needed to go much, much higher, arriving at minus 10 dB, a moment when my ears started flapping in the air. But I'm reminding you that this is not my actual listening volume, this is the highest that I could reach for a few seconds. And yet I had still 10 dB remaining on tap. Also, you should know that not all watts are made the same. Even if A90D and DX9 have very, very similar power ratings, this one is providing you more current. So that is meaning that it has a better driver control over your headphones, especially planar headphones. So Hyphoman Susvara sounded better on DX9 compared to A90D. The transients went wilder, everything was a little punchier and livelier sounding on DX9 versus A90D. So clearly we have more than enough power to drive your entire headphone collection, which is actually a very good thing. I don't see myself using a third-party solid-state headphone amplifier with this one, maybe a tube amplifier for a different flavor. If you care about measurements, then you should know that Tapping's D90 SE is slightly more impressive in this regard, offering you slightly a higher dynamic range and channel crosstalk. However, can you really differentiate a dynamic range of 134 dB versus 131 on this one? Good luck with that. However, if I'm discarding all those numbers, if I'm focusing just on detail retrieval using this one via I2S connection connected to a wired streamer, then this one is not just clearer and more transparent to say D90 SE, but also much closer to the real thing, much closer to a live performance. Personally, I'm not using Delta Sigma DACs in any of my setups because detail retrieval is very important, but it's not really everything that I want in my setup. And usually R2R and FPGA DACs are doing that slightly better. For example, when music is trying to send a message, so trying to make you emotional, sad, happy, weak, powerful, and so on, usually Delta Sigma DACs are not doing that so great. Usually R2R DACs and FPGA DACs are better when trying to convey that message, to receive that message. But of course, not all Delta Sigma DACs are made the same. I still have very fond memories about Tapping D90, Gustard A26, Gold Note DS10 Plus. All of those also are having off-the-shelf IEM chips, and yet those are clean and also very soul-grabbing sounding in a way. What I'm trying to convey is that DX9 is not just technical, resolving, fast and clean sounding, but also fun sounding, and it definitely receives the message that the music is trying to send. If you are wondering about Transients, then you should know that DX9 is impressive in this regard, sounding fast and impactful at the same time. However, in terms of timing, I do believe that only I2S input was the best in this regard. And I know that I may be sounding like a broken record, but there is actually quite a substantial difference between I2S and USB, for example, or optical and coaxial. There is an unnatural ringing, a fake rendition of the treble in a way that adds some grain and digitus, for example, via USB, that is not happening via I2S, that is correcting that timing and adds some of that vinyl-like flow into the mix. The transient response as a whole is impressive, and I don't believe there are tunes that will cripple down the DX9. I'm into all kinds of stuff, including modern electronica like dubstep, drum and bass, techno and rave, and I do believe that DX9 was never lagging behind. However, if you want the very best timing, then again you should invest into a really nice DDC or wired streamer that offers you that I2S output. In terms of Soundstage and imaging, all previous tapping DACs that I have tested around here were sending me a very clear message that they can do stereo image very, very well, but in terms of layering, note separation, and Soundstage, not so much. Surprisingly, I can hear these differences much easier in a headphone setup with a pair of open back headphones. For example, in the same setup with the same amplifier, the same open back headphones, they can sound small, claustrophobic, with little to no information to your sides, and just change the source with the same pair of headphones, the same amplifier, and the sound will be bigger, with the sounds hovering all around you, with more information to your left and right. So DX9 is simply bigger, the case is bigger, you have a better IV conversion stage, a better output stage, you have a bigger headphone amplifier section, and of course all of that has a major impact on the final sound. This one is undeniably more impressive in terms of soundstage compared to D90 SE, D90. Long story short, what was mediocre in terms of soundstage is no longer the case with DX9. And while this one won't really outperform my Rockna Stack or the Chord A with Chord M Scaler in terms of soundstage and layering and note separation, it's already playing in the big boy category, trying to impress in both a head-fi and stereo setup. Moving on to frequency response, the bass line is defined and clear sounding, but there is actually quite a difference in terms of bass, sustain, and decay versus D90 SE. D90 SE is doing that too early. This one is adding a microsecond longer, so everything is pouring and decaying more naturally on DX9. Also, there are additional strands of bass, additional micro level information, additional layers of bass. So in the end, I do believe this one provides not only more bass quantity-wise, but also higher quality type of bass. It's definitely a little punchier and more dynamic sounding. And also from the entire topping lineup, this one is the most organic and lifelike sounding. That's my honest opinion. Listening to all sorts of acoustic music, I do believe that the mid-range area is the most important one. I can stand a weaker bass slam, I can stand some brightness in the treble, but I really don't like when male vocals are losing their cojones, their weight and gutturalness of their voice. And also the mid-range area is the one that dictates if acoustic music will sound right or wrong, full-bodied or thin sounding. On the DX9 there is a slight elevation in mid-range energy and also a smoothing out effect at play, and I do believe that Velvet sound technology is giving a helping hand with those. Besides getting a more cursive mid-range performance, the tone of the music is also weightier on the DX9. Treble extends past my hearing abilities, and while I cannot hear things getting above 16 or 17 kHz, I can feel that the sound is getting defined, clear and quite sharp. The sharpness effect is at play, but it's not really overdone, it's very mild, and it's not really bothering in long listening sessions, that is for sure. Gustard A26 and Gold Note Distant Plus are slightly smoother in this regard, those are rounding portions of the upper treble. DX9 is not doing that, so this one is not smoothing out the upper treble. You can feel that there's plenty of shimmer, information, things happening in that region for sure. So here we have it, a true flagship, only one unit by topping that didn't leave a single feature to chance. We finally got an R2R volume control, a dedicated preamp stage that should work wonders with their LA90 discrete, and its headphone amplifier section worked above my expectations, not only driving the Hype Monsters Vara, but bringing the best out of them. As a final conclusion, I cannot think of anything that bothered me on this one. Every con that I mentioned in my DX7 Pro Plus reviews, D70 Pro and A70 Pro reviews has been taken care of by DX9, getting my highest gold award as my token of my appreciation. This loaner unit was sent by Apos Audio and I want to thank them for that. Thank you guys. Also, if you want to support this channel, I left an affiliated link below that will help me maintain this channel at no additional cost to you. This is pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching a much longer in-depth review I left below. It's a written review that contains about 3 times the information. Don't forget to be positive. My name is Sando and I see you very, very soon.